Hey everybody, what's up? So here we are at part 2. Sorry, part 2. Not editing that one out. This is like the 4th time I've been trying to record this video. Every time, something will happen and I had to stop. So we're gonna continue on. I'm just going from here. But anyways, so last time I talked, gave some information, no spoilers, basically. About Golden Sun, some of the information, and there were some things that I didn't feel that I covered enough. And this is actually my own personal take on it. A lot of the notes that I was reading were actually coming from the web, stuff that I'd remembered as I played the games and written down. But what I wanted to do is actually kind of an unscripted view of all 3 games. In my honest opinion, the first 2 games, the Game Boy Advance versions, really were set the tone for me to play RPGs even further than I had in the past. I remember, as I said in another video, most of the RPGs that I played were... Actually, all the RPGs that I played were on the PC. These are the old TSR games, Forgotten Realms. There were some Dungeons & Dragons, regular Dungeons & Dragons ones, so there were a couple of... I think 1 or 2 Dragonlance games. I don't remember. Unfortunately, because they are on floppy disk, I can't play them anymore, and I can't figure out VirtualBox for the PC enough to actually be able to go back and play them. I really wish they could actually release a lot of these games, Greyhawk, Forgotten Realms, D&D, all the old classics for newer versions of Windows. And those games, when you played them, you got to choose a portrait of your character, but then they look like crap. Look like demented stick figures on crack. And it didn't feel good, to play these games and be playing these weird-ass looking guys. And even the Eye Beholder for the GBA looks this way. It looks bad. But when I started playing Golden Sun, this was awesome. I mean, this is the first time that I played a role-playing game to where it was phenomenal to see the way the characters worked. Having a totally different spell system, for the Psi Energy, having the Djinn. What interested me was, if you ever play Sword of Mana for the Game Boy Advance, the Djinn and the little sprite fairy characters in Sword of Mana, I've only played it once, so I don't remember the name of them. And I was too lazy to look it up, sorry. It just reminds me of that same concept. But the Djinn are so much better. In all 3 games, they work well. They provide a fantastic system. And that's one that... The characters... I was fine with, but I love the Djinn. And it's just because... To me, they're really a supporting role. And they're what I love. I love hunting them down. I love, being able to try using them out. The Psi Energy, with swapping around even for that, is just an amazing system. And when you play Final Fantasy, like when you play Tactics, where you have all these different classes that you can just evolve into, it's great, but it's kind of like, after a while, you're like, I kind of don't want to stick with this. So, it's different. But, when I talked in the other video, kind of to give a point about something, about how I didn't like the way the game ended, then you got to go into all these other areas. I'm going to give you warning right now. This is a little bit of a spoiler if you've never played the games, especially the 3rd one. Don't watch this. Skip ahead a couple minutes. I'll try to make this as fast as possible, a minute or 2. But basically, the problem that I have is in the 3rd game at the end, after the game's completed, basically it goes back to the point earlier in the game where you have the dark area, and you can go back to do other things, but certain areas are locked, and you have to fiddle far around in order to get into them. And especially if gates are locked and you can't hop into a city, for example, you're missing out on an area that otherwise you could have. Plus, there's a lot of backtracking into these areas. So just keep in mind, that's really a bitch part, because even like one area you have to sail in just right on the ship, it can be a nightmare. So yeah, that's the little bit of a spoiler alert here. So if you've passed, if you continue watching, congratulations. If you're just trying to catch, make sure you didn't get all the spoiler. Hey, that's fine. The characters, honestly, having the children of characters from the previous game, one of the things that annoys me is they don't explain. Well, there are actually two things that kind of annoy me, especially with there's things that are left unsaid where it makes you draw conclusions like what exactly 100% was the whole thing about alchemy. There's a lot of different parts to it that are just confusing, and that to a gamer that causes a problem. Now, a lot of people see this as a JRPG because they see JRPGs as a lot of talking from this. People have said a lot of talking. You already know where the story's going. Well, no, duh, you already know where the story's going. But here's the part. This is why I don't necessarily see this as a JRPG. A true one, at least. A lot of the JRPGs that I played are single game only, where basically you have a beginning, you know how it's going to end, you're just playing through a plotted course. Now keep in mind, this being a series, and especially with the way the third game plays out and the way it ends before it goes into the backtrack part, the end part where you can go back and play other stuff. Still trying to edit those out, and editing sucks. But anyways, what was I saying? Oh, the truth is, with the way each game ends, you don't know what's going to happen in the next game. It's like with the third game, the way it ended was a total what the hell. You don't expect it, and for me, it's not a true JRPG because of that. A game like Avalon Code, where you know that you're about to bring the end of the world and you're just recording everything in a book and you're just going through the motions. That's how these things go. But overall, it's really nice to be able to go through. Now, one thing I didn't mention is, other than the Djinn and the summons, there is a third thing that remains constant. With the storyline, there's also spots around the world called side crystals where you can replenish your energy, and they basically are really an important item in the game. And what I like about the story is how it continues from game to game. The third game doesn't have as much of the story as the first two games have. It's like they try to work in a new storyline to it. And the third game, part of what I forgot to mention is there's these vortexes that open up and they basically suck out the psi energy. And that's not something they had in the first two games. This is a completely unexplained phenomenon. Say that three times fast. From the first two games. So I like the way that they do at least go through with it. I do still like the first two overall, but I am hoping that they do come out with a fourth one, because I would love to see it even further. And I know they're probably going to make it for the 3DS, and I'll have to get one at that point. But overall, all three games are worth finding. You don't have to buy them used. If you buy them used, people are going to charge you $100. If it's used, you're going to get less. You're going to pay less than that. Not necessarily game related, but there's a funny little story about Golden Sun, the second one, in fact, and somebody's son. My ex's son decided that he wanted to borrow the second game, and I told him, don't take it to school with you. And I don't know if I mentioned this before or not, and this is how I ended up with two copies, giving him one. He borrowed the game without me knowing, taken it to school, claimed he lost his Game Boy Advance on top of the game. Turns out the school had it the entire time. Pissed me off because I ended up having to hunt down a copy of the game, paying a little bit more money than I had the first time for it. And what he was going to do is take and swap the covers off the two games. Well, that didn't work out. It turned out at the start of the school year, hey, guess what? It's been at the school the entire time. And if he's watching this, yes, It's been a long time, but I've not forgotten it ever, because I clean the house 4 times, and I clean instead of tearing stuff apart when I'm looking for something. And he knew the entire time and didn't say anything. But back to it. Yes, so I'm when you're at work and you're playing these games, people are standing behind you, going, "What are you playing? What are those little things?" The response I wanted to give was, "Leave me the alone. Let me play in peace." Yeah, I'm not going to say the words, but I'm going to lip it. That's what I wanted to say, but I'm polite. This drives me nuts. It's like when people read over your shoulder, "What are you reading? Is any good?" You wouldn't understand. It's too much to go into. Okay. But yeah, sorry, got off track there, got on a little tangent. But yeah, I mean, that's basically, you know, playing it. I love the battle system, being able to choose Jin during battle, being able to do the summons. Oh my god, I love those summons. Those are so awesome. The more summons you can find, the better. Normally they have like these tablets, but in the third game, I'm going to tell you this, they don't have a summon tablet for one of the summons, actually. It's one that you get through an event in the game, and it's really cool. I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, I mean, check out these games. If you have a Game Boy Advance, even buying one used is well worth it, just to be able to play these games. They are really what started me down the path of not only playing more role-playing games for the Advance, the Color, and I'm slowly buying those, or a few that I'm trying to get, but price-wise they're iffy right now for me. Even the DS, it's well worth it. But also, they also taught me that you collect, for me at least, collect games that you love and you enjoy, rather than trying to go out and buy every single game, because for the games that I love, I'm going to play them till the end, and that's what I've done. I've played these, every single one of them. As soon as I've gotten them, I stopped reading, and I just played through them. And I lent the first 2 games to my nephew. You should have just listened to me. If he's watching, he knows who he is. Should have played the games through without the speed walkthrough, because you get more out of the game. Yes, I'm pointing my finger, shaking at you. The Irelandish. You know who you are. Yes, my nephew does have a channel on YouTube. So, yeah. Definitely at some point I'm going to try to get him on the channel, if he'll agree to it. And there's no problems with him appearing on the show with me. But yeah, if you guys can, check it out. Play the games through. It's very well worth it. Highly encourage anyone to play it. That's pretty much about it. Gonna have a shoutouts video coming soon, so you guys can see who I've been watching and who I recommend. And if you're interested, go through my back videos if you want. I do have a couple of shoutouts. And thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you later.